in the small, forgotten village of Okwe. In Nigeria, there was a boy named Uche. His village lay nestled between the great hills and winding rivers, a place where time seemed to stand still. Life in Okwe was simple. People worked the land, celebrated the harvest, and shared in each other's joys and sorrows. But despite its beauty, Okwe was poor. The crops failed year after year, the soil was dry, and the rains never came at the right time. The village had little to show for its hard work, and every year the villagers' hopes grew dimmer. Uche's family was one of the poorest. His father, Okafor, worked as a laborer for a wealthy merchant who owned many acres of fertile land. Okafor would wake up before the sun rose, working tirelessly in the fields, doing all sorts of difficult chores. Yet no matter how much he worked, he barely earned enough to feed his wife and children. Uche, his son, saw how his father struggled, and in his heart, a deep determination was born. He vowed that one day he would change his family's fate. He would buy back their land and restore the pride of his village. But how could a poor boy like Uche ever achieve such a thing? When Uche was a young boy, he would watch the merchants who passed through Akwi, rich men who came in wagons filled with gold, silks, and spices. They had no care for the poor villages they passed through. Uche would listen to their tales of cities with towering buildings, markets filled with wonders, and fortunes made in a day. His eyes would gleam with excitement as he imagined a life where money could be earned as easily as breathing. But reality struck him hard. Uche's family had nothing to offer. They couldn't afford to send him to school. His friends had shoes made of leather, while Uche's were patched with cloth. His clothes were simple, his meals were often just beans or yam, and his house was little more than a small hut with a thatched roof. Yet, Uche never complained. He found joy in small things. He would run barefoot through the village, his heart light, helping where he could. He gathered firewood for his mother, fetched water from the stream, and helped his father with the heavy lifting. He knew the power of work, the importance of family, and the value of patience. He didn't mind his poverty because he knew he had something that could never be taken away: hope. As Uche grew older, he began to dream bigger. He saved what little money he could, setting aside small coins from odd jobs. He would look at the gold pieces in the hands of the passing traders and tell himself, "One day, I'll have gold of my own." His friends laughed at him. They called him a dreamer. But Uche didn't mind. He knew that every great fortune started with a single idea, a single dream. As the years passed, Uche's reputation spread beyond the borders of Akwe. People from neighboring villages and even distant towns came to see what Uche had achieved, asking him for advice on how to build their own dreams. Uche, humble and kind as ever, welcomed them with open arms, sharing the secrets of his success: hard work, integrity, and most importantly, an unshakable belief in his people. One day, a young man came to Akwe seeking Uche's counsel. His name was Kofi, a farmer from a neighboring village who had heard of Uche's transformation of Akwe. He was desperate. His own village was suffering from drought, with crops failing and water running out. He asked Uche, "How did you manage to turn your village around when everything seemed impossible?" Uche smiled, looking out at the lush fields of Akwe. "I didn't do it alone," he said. "It was the collective effort of everyone here. A village is like a body. Each person plays their part. A strong hand helps a weak one. A caring heart guides a lost soul. It is only together that we can overcome the hardest obstacles." Kofi listened intently. "But what about the drought? What if the land doesn't yield any crops? What do we do then?" Uche thought for a moment. He remembered the times when Okwe had struggled, when the rivers ran dry and the crops withered under the burning sun. But instead of giving up, the people of Okwe had come together. They dug wells, they planted drought-resistant crops, and they shared their water. They supported each other. "You plant seeds with hope, Kofi," Uche said, "but you also plant them with a plan. Don't rely on the weather alone. If the rains do not come, you find new ways to water the crops. If the soil is dry, you bring life to it in another way. Never give up and never stop trying." Kofi left Okwe that day with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to help his own village in the same way Uche had helped his. As time went on, Kofi's village transformed too, and he credited Uche for teaching him the power of perseverance and community. Years later, when Uche was much older, a visitor arrived at Okwe who caught his attention. It was an old man with a silver beard, walking slowly with the help of a cane. His clothes were simple, but his eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes. As he entered the village square, the villagers whispered among themselves, unsure of who he was. But Uche immediately recognized him. He was the same merchant who had once taken his family's land, the same man who had stolen Okwe's future. The merchant stood in front of Uche, his head bowed in humility. "I am sorry," the man said in a soft voice. "I have come to ask for forgiveness." Uche looked at the man, remembering the years of hardship his family had endured. He remembered the pain of watching his father toil under the merchant's rule, and the bitterness of seeing the land that should have been theirs fall into another's hands. But now, all of that seemed far away. The merchant continued, "When I sold the land to the highest bidder, I didn't realize the damage I was causing. I thought it was just business. But when I saw what you did with Okwe, I understood. I saw what true wealth is, and I saw the error of my ways." Uche was silent for a moment, deep in thought. The merchant had once been his enemy, the source of his village's struggles, but now, standing before him, he was just an old man seeking peace. "I have long since forgiven you," Uche said finally. "Not because you sought forgiveness, but because I have found peace in my own heart. Holding on to the past only prevents you from moving forward." The merchant smiled, grateful for the forgiveness he had never expected. "I wish I could make amends," he said. "You have already," Uche replied. "Your apology is all I need." And with that, the merchant left Okwe, his heart lighter than it had been in years. He returned to his family, vowing to change his ways and help those in need. Uche's work in Okwe continued, even as he grew older. He saw the children, who had once been too young to understand his struggles, now becoming leaders, business owners, and teachers. The village flourished, not because of wealth, but because of the values they held dear: hard work, kindness, and a spirit of unity. One evening, as Uche sat beneath the great tree in the village square where he had spent so many hours watching the sunset, he was surrounded by his children, grandchildren, and the villagers who had become like family to him. The air was filled with laughter, and the scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the village kitchens. Uche, now a man in his twilight years, smiled as he looked around. "My time is near," he said softly to his son, Chijioke. "But I am at peace. I have done what I set out to do." Chijioke, who had watched his father grow from a poor boy into a man of great wisdom and compassion, took his father's hand. "You have done more than enough, father. You've shown us what it means to be strong, what it means to never give up." Uche nodded. "The true measure of a man's success is not in how much he accumulates, but in how much he gives. It is not the land or the wealth that defines you. It is your ability to lift others up when they are down, to bring light when the world seems dark." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Uche closed his eyes, knowing that Okwe would continue to thrive long after he was gone. He had built something that could never be taken away. Not wealth, not land, but a legacy of love, hard work, and the strength of community. And so, the boy who once had nothing had come full circle. He had bought back his village, not with gold, but with his heart. And in doing so, he had shown the world that true wealth is found in the connections we build, the lives we touch, and the love we share. Moral of the story: true success is not about accumulating wealth or power, but about lifting others and leaving behind a legacy that transcends material things. Wealth may come and go, but the impact we have on the lives of others lasts forever. Please subscribe for more videos. Thank you.